everybody, Jason Franklin here. Welcome back to Expedition U. As you guys know, we're back here for, I think, episode 48. We like to really invest in our business, whether it's real estate, just general entrepreneurship in total. Everybody loves to tell their success stories. They love to talk about all the great things they've accomplished. What we really kind of want to hear more is, where did you suck? Who built into you? Who got you to where you are? We don't want to get stuck in that disconnect, because there's so many people listening on here that haven't gotten to where they want to go. And if all they hear is the grandiose stories, they don't really understand how they can get where they're going. So we want to identify not only on where you are, but more importantly, where you came from. And we've got an awesome opportunity today with my really good friend, Sam Carratala. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here, Jason.
And you're so busy doing such great things. I've been trying to get you on here for like 2 months.
Dude, I know. It's been a while, and I apologize, kids and life and business and
taking care of your family and making money. No apologies necessary.
Dude, and I hate being on podcasts. I'll be honest with you. I'm not, I'm not the most like soft-spoken guy. I don't think I have the best camera presence. I'm a hustler. I like just being behind the camera, just making deals happen.
If you're not soft-spoken, then you are in the right place, good sir. Because I had to curtail myself a little bit, because in like our first 7 episodes, whenever I share a podcast out to family, I'm like, don't listen to the first 7, because the first 7 episodes, I was 100% me. And my mom called me, and I'm like 48 years old. My mom calls me. She's like, Jason, you have a potty mouth. You need to. And I was like, I'm just being me. But anyways, I understand.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm with you. I understand that. And I did watch a few of your first 7. So, yep.
Yeah, I can see that. Then. So, hey, let me just start out with, the pink elephant in the room, the real estate market right now. So you're with the Carratala Group. You've been in real estate for 23 years, top 1% of agents in the Houston area, like 385 or 355 million in sales. So obviously you're doing something right. But I guess the big question around, not even just in the real estate industry, like I think the guy at McDonald's right now and the guy working at, Hewlett Packard, they're all going, dude, the real estate market's jacked.
Yeah.
So what's your 30 seconds?
Man, so 23 years in the business. I've been through a couple ups and downs, per se. And just real estate, you just got to be able to adapt to the market. There's always going to be buyers and there's always going to be sellers. And that's what I try to tell some of my agents on my team in my office. So don't get hung up on that, on the interest rates or, there's less transactions happening, because the truth is there's transactions happening every single day.
Sure.
You just got to look for the opportunity, and you just have to be at the right place at the right time. And the only way you do that is by making sure you continue to follow up with the people that you have in your database. People know that you're a realtor. Having your name out there. And being consistent is what's going to get you through these hard times.
Well, and I think you're talking about a couple of things there. One, you mentioned just 30 seconds ago, you're a hustler, right? Hustler's going to hustle, Oh, there we go.
Every day I'm hustling.
Got to, but the other thing is, and this is a huge word in our office right now, intentionality. Because there's a lot of people in this market that made a lot of money over the last 3, 4, 5 years without a lot of intentionality. It's like suit up, show up, you're going to make 60 grand.
Exactly.
And I think it's safe to say that we're not going to see that again for a minute.
And we're not, and the people that got used to that are the ones that are probably going to be the first ones to exit the business. Everything was handed to them. They were able to, sell everyone in their family a home because the interest rates were great. They were able to just go to an open house and pick up a client, but the market is definitely changing. So you have to, every day you have to get up with the intention of trying to get another deal.
Well, and the other thing there is we're not selling Porsche 911s or Ferraris, and we're not selling luxury boats, right? When everything goes to hell in a handbasket, you can go without your next boat, but you got to have a place to live, right?
Absolutely.
I've got some newer agents that are kind of struggling. And I'm like, dude, I don't care if you go do 5 rentals a month. It's going to pay your bills, right? If it's a leasing market, if it's a buying market, if it's a selling market, you hit the nail on the head. You just got to adapt.
Exactly. And my thing is, some of the agents, I just had a conversation with an agent who, he was in a hard, going through a hard situation. He had a deal, he thought it was going to go through, and now he doesn't have, his rent money for next month. And I'm like, well, why do you let it get to that point? If you know that you're one deal away I don't understand why you don't have a funnel of 5, 10, 15 clients that are always in the hopper that you're working with. You have to build that, and you can't. And if that's not built, then you got to be out there doing open houses every day. You got to be out there seeing people every day. You better be on the phone calling expires and FSBOs because, obviously those are back, especially expireds. So if you don't want to work that hard for the business, that's what gets me is it's because when I got started in business, it wasn't that easy, and where I came from, and I think you want to kind of touch on that in a little bit is how I started in the business. And it wasn't as easy as it is now for some of these agents.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to segue into. I mean, so you've had the 9 to 5. I worked in corporate America, right? I haven't had a check from anybody other than myself since 2003, right? So I'm 19 years, eating what I kill, for lack of a better term. And, to go from that environment into a 100% commission-based environment can be challenging for a lot of people. So how did you transition from, so I'm not going to give away your age, but you've been in the market 23 years. So, you weren't 15.
I was 45. I'm 45 now. So I was like 21 when I got my license, basically 2022.
Okay. So 80% of your adult career, you're really actually your entire adult career, you've been in real estate.
Yep.
But you did live the 9 to 5 for a little while.
Well, hey, I did more than that. So I actually, so my story is obviously I came from, the 2 F's, food stamps and free lunch. So basically my parents were not, we came from Cuba when I was 3 years old. So it was fairly small. We came in 1980. So if you guys have ever seen Scarface, the first 5 minutes of Scarface, that's my family coming over from Cuba. And so we lived a year in Miami, and then we came to Houston. And I say that because my dad, obviously, we didn't come from money. My parents cleaned houses for a long time. They cleaned hotels or a country club. And it wasn't until my dad actually got his real estate license that I didn't get. I used to get hand-me-downs, but I have a brother who's a year and 2 months older than me. And so I would always get his hand-me-downs. We'd go to Kmart and Wieners. We never had those nice, designer clothes per se. You remember Wieners and Kmart?
Oh yeah.
And so when my dad finally got his real estate license, he didn't know any English. He took the test, failed it 3 times, finally passed it, got his license. And then, a few months later, he started making money, and we started getting Air Jordans. We started getting, our own pairs. I didn't get a hand-me-down. We started eating nice. We started, obviously the market was great whenever he got in the business. And so I was like, wow, so you can really make money in real estate. And then, obviously at 17, I dropped out of school. I got married. So, a lot of people don't know this about me. Tricia is actually my second wife. I was married for 5 years. Didn't have any kids with my ex-wife, thank God. But one thing I did learn from being married is how much you have to work. So when I first got married, I dropped out of school. I had to work 3 jobs. So I had to, imagine that. I had just, my birthday's in August, so I got married in September. So just turning 17, I had to go get a job at Long John Silver's. And then my afternoon job was working at Hilo auto supply store. Mm-hmm. And then in the evening, I used to stock at Service Merchandise. I used to do merchandise stocking there at Service Merchandise I did that for a few years while I put my ex-wife through high school. And then obviously I moved on from there. I started working at a hotel. Then I got hired on by AT&T. So I worked there for a number of years. And then when I told my mom, I was like, hey, you know what? I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to work for myself. I want to do real estate. She's like, you're crazy. She's like, why are you going to give up a 9 to 5 with insurance, with benefits, with 401k? You'll have all of that. Why do you want to give that up to do real estate? And I was like, well, my dad made money. She's like, no, your dad made money certain months. Yeah. But there was months that we didn't eat that we didn't talk about. Sure. And so she's like, I definitely don't want you to get into real estate. Plus, I don't think you'll be good at it. And so imagine that. So I was like 21. I was like probably about 20 when she told me this. I'm like, no, she says I can't do it. I'm going to get into real estate. and I'm gonna, and so I got my license, and then a few months after I got my license, I started, I got into to do real estate for urban living inside the Loop, and then been 23 years in the business since.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, a couple of things that I have to take away, and you'll laugh at me for this. One, if I ever open a retail shop, you can't work for me because Service Merchandise, Long John Silver's, and Hilo are all gone now.
Oh, isn't that crazy? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, no, Long John Silver's is still there, bro. My parents still love going to Long John Silver's. They were just there like 2 weeks ago. So, yep, they're still alive. They're still here.
But I mean, Urban Living is still around. I mean, they're a big outfit in downtown Houston. That's kind of, you jumped in the deep end going to Urban Living that early.
I did because my dad, when he was in the business, he did the subprime market. Mm-hmm. So all his clients were Spanish. Obviously, I speak fluent Spanish, but I know what that was like. And I was like, oh my God, I never want to have to, find people, I don't want the majority of my business being that community, because it was great people, but a lot of times it's mattress money, it's gift money, it's FHA, it's, they don't qualify. And so I didn't want to start my business there. I'm like, where can I go and be the extreme opposite?
Sure.
And then I had a friend that worked at Urban. They're like, this is a great place. And I went there. I'm still friends with the owner of the company, and learned a lot being there. A lot of good things, a lot of bad things. But what I learned more than anything is hustle.
So we've got a lot of young agents on our team, and I tell them all the time, I was like, listen, I'm going to share anything. There's nothing in my brain that's off limits. I'm a completely open book. I want to share anything with you I can. However, I will tell you the only resentment I have in my professional career is the 22-year-old agents, because they got here so early, right? I got here at 40, and I
remember you were a brand new agent when we were in the same office, and you were coming in with your dojo outfit sometimes, and I think you still had, or you had just shut down your
I was up when I got with you guys. I was still teaching, because it was part of my buyout when I sold it to them, is that I would do a slow transition out of our martial arts school, and so I was still going there and teaching. Absolutely. But the funny thing is, I started at Remax kind of for the same reason that you started at Urban Living and got in the deep end, is that when I was at Champion School of Real Estate, their whole thing was, go to Keller Williams, or go to Gary Green, or go to one of these low key places that's going to teach you a bunch of stuff. And I went and interviewed all these places, and the one thing they all said was, don't go to Remax. It's where all the sharks are, and they don't teach you anything. And I was like, why?
You got high dues. You got this. And good for you. I didn't know that.
That's the whole reason I went there. I mean, it was that was where the guys that made money were. And I was like, I don't want to be in some low key place where they're going to tell me I need to take another 6 weeks of classes. I need to feed my kids, Exactly. So that's how I got started there. So
and you were there every day. You hustled, dude. And that's what I always appreciated about you. I'm like, you're a brand new agent. You're there every day, and just showing up and being hungry. Sometimes that's all it takes. You just got to be hungry for it.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I got my first contract, actually, I think it was your wife, Alicia, because I came in y'all's office, because y'all had a small team at the time.
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying, can I borrow a copy of somebody's contract? Because I need to look at this and see how to write it.
Yeah, I remember. It's we had a small office up until we got locked out. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, it's another story for another day. But yeah, it was great. And that's a hard thing too, is growing a team. And that being a team owner is I've done a team so many times, and I've had a team, didn't, just got rid of my team, just did it on my own. And, every once in a while I'll get the itch to grow my team. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's one thing you cannot teach. You cannot teach hustle. And some people want what you have, but they don't want to put in the time that you did.
Sure.
They don't realize that when I got started, I did open houses, every weekend, 2 open houses a day. They don't realize that I called expires and FSBOs for 4 hours a day. They don't realize that, that I did like you said, leases. I did leases, up the kazoo. So, I mean, there's things that agents don't realize that you have to do to be successful. And the last couple of years, those agents that got in the business, that's why a lot of them I think you had mentioned 20% of them are going to be out of the business in the next 12 to 24 months.
So if you had to look backwards, I mean, and again, you may be able to refine this down to a single individual or a group of individuals. Who is someone that if you kind of just looked at and just said, man, it could be a broker, it could be family member, but who's the one person you go, if I pull that person out of my story, this didn't work?
Man, I hate to say this, it's probably my mom. You know, my mom,
With that, moms are awesome.
dude, moms are awesome, but my mom she's always she's always had my back. She's always loved her kid. And, but my mom, when she first told me that not to get in the business, she told me I wouldn't be good at it. And so for me, I took that like a chip on my shoulder. I was like, why is she? Come on, I'm good at everything. I'm there's no reason why I can't succeed in it. And then later, it was a few years later, I was like, Mom, you told me not to get into it. I'm in it. I'm doing well. She's like, it's because I didn't want you to, I didn't want you to go through what I went through, because your dad did well, but there was also times that he didn't do well. And so if I didn't have her, if I would take her out of my business life, I probably would have still stayed in with a 9 to 5, been not happy, and so it was.
That's awesome.
I think it's, yeah. And then obviously having support, having a wife that supports in your business, because 2007 hit, and that was a market crash. And if it wasn't for my wife working at that point, I mean, I was still able to do deals, but she kind of helped, with taking care of, helping out with our bills around the house. And so she's a big part of our business and why we've been successful.
Yeah,
so it also keeps me in place. So it keeps me, if I'm not making my phone calls, if I'm not going out there seeing, my clients, and she's part of the business. She knows what I need to be doing, because she knows what she knows if I do it right, she knows in 90 days that, that we're going to be in a good position.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for having a spouse that's deeply entrenched in your business, because I mean, and you can have a business partner, you can have any other number of supporters, but with a spouse, there's a difference, because when they say something, you have to look at it differently. And when your wife, I mean, and again, I'm just a white boy from Clear Lake through and through, but there's still that, to coin the phrase, machismo, right?
Oh, yeah.
When your wife comes home, it's like, hey, where's the deals? You're not performing the way that I know you should be. I mean, there's like a shame and a guilt.
Exactly. What was I doing all day? I was, in the computer. I was, doing something else. Yeah. So it's true. It's, you gotta be accountable. And that's sometimes the best. Like I've had coaches in the past. I've spent a lot of money in coaching. I spent, at one point with the core training, I was spending, it was like $3,000 a month on coaching. And I signed up for it again. And my wife's like, why are you doing that? I will keep you accountable. And it's, at the end of the day, it's, it's accountable not only to her, but to my family too. Like, I know that, like you said, we talked about, we eat what we kill. And I know that if I'm not out there hustling, if I'm not out there, making phone calls, seeing people, sending out postcards, doing whatever it is that I do, having events for my clients. Yes, I love doing all of that. But I know that if I don't do that, I'm failing my family. So I think that's another factor that I, that keeps me accountable and keeps me trying to push and do more deals.
Absolutely. Well, and then also parlaying into having a team is, you have that direct accountability to your family, but then when you start growing a team, you then also, I mean, by my measurement, have an accountability to that team, because they're looking to you as a, not necessarily a leader, but as an inspiration and as a motivator. And, they're going to do what they see, right?
Exactly.
And so you've got to be one step ahead. I tell people all the time, at 40 years old, when I left my martial arts school, I was running like just under a 6-minute mile. And the only reason I could run a 6-minute mile was because I made my junior instructors run with me, and I refused to let them beat me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, they were literally chasing me. And the only reason I could run that mile is because I was not going to lose, you know, and I set myself up like that a lot. I tell my agents, you've got to do this. And some part of the reason why I make them do it is because I know that if I make them do it, I have to do it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm not going to make them go make these calls if I'm not making calls. I'm not going to make them do open houses if I'm not doing open houses, and all that stuff.
And you like you said, you're very competitive. So if you're, hey man, I'm gonna you said you're gonna make 20 calls today. Okay, I'm gonna make 30, and you're gonna watch me make them, and that's and if the thing is, you got to find the people that want to make those calls.
Absolutely.
If they don't, if they say, oh, hey, I want to, yeah, I want your schedule. I want to work how you work. I want to, do what you do, but they're not willing to put in the work. That's tough. So they have to be willing to make those calls. If they're willing to make those calls, believe me, I'll get on the phone with them, and we'll make calls together, because I'm not afraid to knock on doors. I'm not afraid to, to make phone calls.
I everybody that listens to this podcast has heard me say this 1,000 times, but I live by this. If you want to do what I do, you got to do what I do.
Exactly.
And that's something from, I had a long time ago, one of my really, really good friends was one of our assistant instructors, and I was taking some time off and I was doing a few other things. He's like, hey, how come I don't get to do what you're doing? I was like, because you don't do what I do.
Exactly. That's true. That's true. I love that. Another saying I like is you got to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at a high level. So you gotta do what you don't want to do. What's doing what you don't want to do? I don't want to make phone calls.
Yep.
You think I want to go and do open houses on the weekend? You think I don't want to do that kind of stuff, but I have to do it because I know that that's what brings business in.
Sure. Absolutely. So aside, obviously I was thinking the easy answer to this is your team, but I don't think that you can get to the level of success that you have without wanting to, at some level, internally emulate or to be the same person for others that those people were for you. Your mom, your motivator. And I'm sure I know how passionate you are about your family. So I know that you're taking those lessons in the raising of your kids and, how you treat your wife, but in your business, how are you trying to disseminate or to share some of what you've learned and impart that wisdom into other people?
Man, I wish I did more, like, writing down or making sure that I have not examples, but I want to be able to have, like videos of what I do and maybe teach that to my agents. But I think agents learn by you doing the business and seeing how you carry yourself and how you run your business. And so I'm an open book. So any agent that has a question, they can come to me. I think my issue sometimes I've hired friends as agents to be on my team, which is great because I get to be around people that I like and that like me. But sometimes it's hard to hold those people accountable. Sure. But because they want to hang out, or they know you in a different setting than actually in a work setting. And so I think for me to help other agents, I think it's just getting them to I don't know, just spending more time with them. But they have to be in my environment. They have to know what I'm doing. They have to, want to be held accountable in order for me to be able to really help them get to the next level.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway I'm hearing from you, and I was listening for this because it's something that I'm passionate about. And you and I have both been, especially early in career, you go to a different office or a certain brokerage, and you feel like an island. Because these guys are all producing and they're busy and you don't want to bother people and the broker's never there and there's really nobody to go to. And so what I'm hearing from you is a lot of what I pride myself on, and that is availability. I say this half jokingly but it's pretty true. 7A to 7P, 7 days a week. And if you call me and I don't call you back in 15 minutes, call the police. I'm in a ditch somewhere. Something bad has happened, right? So it's really about being there, because it's probably, in my opinion, in this industry and probably in most commission or sales-based industries, I think the first 90 days will determine the next 9 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a matter of how comfortable, how confident can you become, because you're either on your way up or you're on your way out in every industry at any time.
That's absolutely right. And like you said, like I think you mentioned earlier, how you talked about how you were, whenever you needed help, you came into my office, you're like, hey, I need help with this contract. And we were able to help. And I think that's how agents need to be with with either agents on their team, with agents in the industry, with new people that are coming in the business, is just being able to share their experiences and being transparent. Like for me, everything, like our whole, and that's what I love about EXP. Obviously, this is not to promote EXP, but I love the fact that I can go to anyone who's above me in the business, in the same level, higher, lower, whatever, and I can ask them, hey, what do you use as your listing presentation?
Mm-hmm.
And not only are they going to give me the little, small, hey, here's a brochure I use. No, they're going to give me their whole playbook.
Yep.
I think I did that with Andrew. I was like, hey, what's your listing presentation? He gave me his binder. And I think I don't know if they probably don't use it anymore, but I mean, it's a huge binder that they use. And
they'll send you the digital version that you can go through and just manipulate.
Yeah.
It's not even just like, hey, here's a paper copy. But no, and you're right. In the collaboration, whether it's within your office or within our organization or any other multitude of things, and the thing is that when used properly, today's world is so much smaller than it used to be, and so
That's
that
true.
makes our ability to grow and to multiply, not just to multiply dollars, but to multiply opportunities for both ourselves and for others. And it's awesome to be in an environment where they understand that multiplication, just through helping, through assisting, by being open, by being generous.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have had multiple conversations. You've called me about things. I definitely called you about things, and it's so funny because you and I'll go 6 months without talking. And then you'll call me up and you're like, Jason, what did you do about this thing? Or I'll do the same thing with you. Like, hey, I've got this thing on the north side and I don't know what this is. So speaking of things that you haven't done before, I understand that you either intentionally or accidentally jumped into the world of investment properties this year.
Yeah, I did. I've always been about, being a master in your trade and what is that?
Master, jack of all trades, master.
Jack of all trades. Yeah. Master of none. So I didn't want to get into I didn't want to get into property management and rentals and then investing and wholesaling. I didn't want to get into all of that because that's just too much for me. I just want to be an expert. And I think I am an expert when it comes to residential sales. But I was like, I got to build another form of income that's more passive. And so obviously, if I wasn't part of EXP and part of, kind of, our revenue share and part of, stocks that we have and all of that, I probably would have never got into investing in real estate. And then obviously having access to a good lender or hard money lender and kind of learning more about the investment side of it by being a part of this company that kind of got me excited about it. And I was like, okay, we're willing to take a chance. And it's all about my wife. For me, I'm willing to try to do anything, but she's the one that's like, no, you can't do that. No, we're not going to do that. No, you got to stay in your lane. And so she's like, okay, when I told her more about the investing side, she's like, okay, let's look into that. And so we did 3 flips this year.
Nice.
Yeah. On the first flip, we actually lost, we lost money. So that was, we lost like $6,000, which is okay. It was a learning experience.
Sure.
I bought it on the MLS. I bought it a little high. I bought it from a friend. And so, we put too much money into it. And so we sold it. We're like, that's a good learning experience. No big deal. It's a write-off. On the second deal, we actually bought it right. We got the right financing. I got the right crew. And I think that was even a referral from you. I think I was looking for somebody that I could call to actually do the work for me. And then you had referred me over to Chris. Mm-hmm. I think Chris is friends with James. Mm-hmm. And so he actually did the whole flip for me. And then I was able, so I didn't put any, I mean, obviously I put money into the deal, but I didn't put any of my own, elbow grease. I didn't work on the house, hardly any. And then I was able to, after it was fixed, I was able to turn around and put it on the market, and, we make 6 figures from one flip. So it was definitely, that was when my eyes really opened up. My second flip, making that kind of money, I'm like, wow, that was, if I can do 2 or 3 of those a year, I'm gonna be fine. So I wish I would have held it now. Now you think about it, now it's long term. Now it's like, man, I wish I would have probably held that and, made it, it would have definitely cash flowed, probably $1,000 a month. But I decided to go ahead and sell it and make good money. So now it's just, now I got that itch to do more of those deals.
And that's good. Well, the thing is I actually kind of had the opposite, which was funny because I had no intention of getting into flipping. I've been, if you go back and look at all the investment properties that you sold in the first however many years, and you go, oh my God, how much money could I have made? And
Oh, that's what I think about. Yeah. So many deals I could have picked up.
And I look at the 40 or 50 that I sold my first few years. And then I actually ran into a deal a couple of years ago with a friend that was like, hey, we want to sell this, but we want you to do it. It was a family home. It was my wife's dad's house, da, 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 but if we sell it, you have to flip it. And I was like, and I really didn't want to. And we did. And it went fantastic. And I made like, I don't know, $75,000. And I was like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. And then lost my ass on the second one. But I was still way, way net positive between the two. And then I brought a couple of my new agents, or not new, but a couple of our more junior agents in the office on as partners this year in a flipping company, just because they wanted to learn it. I'm like, hey, listen, I'll bankroll it. You guys got to do the heavy lifting. And we've done 3 wholesale deals and 8 flips this year.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I know you're doing some stuff outside of Houston. So you got brave. You're like, okay, I'm not even staying in Houston. I'm going to go outside of Houston and start doing some deals.
I just didn't want to compete with everybody else in Houston. Too many damn people buying houses.
Oh yeah, but there's still. But the way I look at it is that there's still enough. Just same thing with realtors. There was 42,000 realtors in Houston, or 44,000. I'm like, but hey, I'm not competing with them. I'm competing against myself. There's enough business out there, and so. That's the way I look at investing too. And I wait for them to come to me. I'm not out there hunting for it. If an opportunity presents itself, I'll look at it, but I'm not I'm not out there. I wish I had more time to go out there and start really, have pounding the phones or doing whatever it takes, talking to more wholesalers, whatever it is to get some of these deals.
And get a VA. It's cheaper.
Yeah, I do have a couple. I have a couple VAs, and that's been great for my business. But yeah, I gotta try to. Yeah, maybe I'll talk to you off air to see how we can implement. Get some of them to bring in some investment deals.
So hey, as we wrap up, I don't want to take too much more of your time. What are your big plans for 23?
Man, 23 is I'm not looking at growing the team. I'm just looking at just being able to net more income. For me, it's all about the net. I'm not about the GCI, because that's all ego commission. For me, it's all about the net. Hey, I'm making more money, providing for my family, and just being home every night at 5. That's my goal. I like to be home at 5. I take my son to school, or my daughter to school in the morning. I like to be there when they come home from school. So if I can spend more time home, buy more investment property, and still, help, over 50, 60 families a year, dude, that's a great business to me.
Hey, you know what? That's all about quality of life, Sam. That's the thing is, I think everyone, whether they recognize it or not, is striving towards some type of equilibrium. Exactly. And I think that the earlier that you recognize what that equilibrium is, we did a great interview a couple weeks ago with Chris Bowers, and he's actually, you should go back and listen to it because it's something you might find interesting, but he's hired a full-time showing agent.
Okay. So he
doesn't show houses anymore.
That's smart.
When he introduces himself with his clients, he's like, hey, I'm going to be here the whole time. This is Mike. He does all of our showings. He's fantastic. And then Mike finds the right house. He does the contract. Then the contract goes to Chris. Chris signs it and does all the negotiations. But and he's paying him like a salary plus a certain percentage. But and his whole thing was, I have 3 things that are immovable. I will not miss church. I will not miss my daughter's dance on Tuesdays. And I will not miss Thursday night date night. And so he's like, I look at my schedule, and his equilibrium comes before everything else. And then he builds his business around that.
Exactly.
And in 23, I think that's probably a great time when everybody else is kind of freaking out and their hair's on fire. If you can build a business in 23 that is properly balanced and still profitable, imagine what you're going to do in the years coming forward when the Fed stops playing around and the whole world comes back to equilibrium itself. So
absolutely, that's absolutely 100%. That's what I tell agents. I'm like, don't some agents want to chase the numbers. It's all, dude, forget the numbers. Just quality of life, your equilibrium. What makes you happy? What is your why? And then build your business around that. So that's all you need to be. You don't have to You don't need to do every deal, and people get jealous. Hey, my brother did a deal, or, hey, this role, my brother used another person. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, just, there's enough deals to go around.
Yep.
And then just what makes you happy, and just go after that.
Yeah, there's 4 million people in Houston. I need like 200 deals a year.
Yeah. And if you look at the fraction, that's not that many.
No, it's not.
It's not that many. So you can probably do more, and but good. But it's always good to talk to you, man. Jason, you always got good ideas. I love, I appreciate you inviting me on this, on your podcast. I know it's, long time coming, and I'm finally glad I was able to do it. Now I can.
Any idea that I ever come up with is only based on the energy that I'm getting in the back and forth. I mean, it's all reciprocal. So I greatly appreciate it. So if there's somebody that, wants to talk about investing, or wants to maybe get into investment properties, or maybe a new agent that needs some leadership or something, how can people find you? How can they reach you?
Easy. They can go to our website. They can call me. My cell phone number is 281-781-6969. List with Sam. That's kind of what I use sometimes. Listwithsam.com. They can go there. That's easy. They can go to my website. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about investing, about real estate, about where to start, obviously you got Jason here. He's killing it. You got so many agents, but yeah, feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome, Sam. Well, hey, I appreciate it, man. And we look forward to hanging out with you again very soon.
All right, bro. Say hi to your wife for me, okay? Take care, bro.